Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar about online recruitment on Facebook and Instagram. First of all, I'm going to share my screen. Oops, some technical hiccups. Let me see. And there you go. So normally, if all goes well, then you can see the slides online webinar recruiting on Facebook and Instagram. That's why we're here. First of all, on the right, you can see there is a chat. Can you just say hi if you can hear me well, if you can see me well, so all the technical setup is done correctly?
Yes.
All right,
looks
cool.
like it's working.
Well, let us introduce ourselves really quickly. My name is Stephanie, and I'm the marketing lead at Simple. And next to me stands Mark. He's one of the founders. All right, now during the webinar, we want to make it a bit more interactive. So we're also going to ask some polls. You will also find them on the right because I'm talking to my screen, but of course there are lots of people listening to us. So yeah, let's go for it. All right. Now, what is on the agenda for today? First of all, well, why should you recruit on Facebook? If we talk about Facebook, it's important that you know that we're talking about paid recruitment campaigns and not organic recruiting. Second, what should you pay attention to when preparing? Because before you can set up your campaign, there is some technical preparation that needs to be done. And then how do you set up a campaign? And then last, how do you measure results? Because of course, you provide a media budget to recruit on Facebook and Instagram, and you want to have the best results of it. What are we not going to discuss today? That is free organic recruiting on social media. We're talking about paid recruitment with media budget on Facebook and Instagram. We're not going to talk about data-driven recruitment. We've done another webinar for that, which you can find on our website or on our social media accounts. And then the last one, what is a great working ad? We're planning to do a next workshop about that in a couple of weeks. All right, now, why should you believe us? Well, at Simple, we provide qualified candidates and we focus on passive candidates, which is 80% of the working population. We do this through targeted advertisement on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and also a bit of LinkedIn. And we do this in a user-friendly process. Now, we analyze 11 million data points per month, which is, of course, really a lot.
It's massive.
I'm not doing it by myself. We have some algorithms behind it. But we are specialized in targeting passive candidates for vacancies. Here you can find some of our customers. But again, we are here for to learn why you should recruit on Facebook and how do you do that. Well, first of all, maybe we're going to launch a first poll.
Yes.
Because I'm curious who in the audience already did some paid recruitment campaigns on Facebook or Instagram.
Right, so the poll is published, so you should see it on the tab on the right-hand side. You can see a poll. If all goes well, and let's have a look at the first results there. So it's about even. 60-40. 60% have not yet done it, 40 yes. And the good news is we have interesting information for both of you.
Yeah, definitely. What is also important to keep in mind when I'm talking about Facebook, Facebook is an advertising platform, but it also includes Instagram, Messenger, and Audience Network. Audience Network is a network from Facebook of several websites, several applications where they also put their advertisements live.
Putting it differently, Steph, everything that went down on Monday night, that's Facebook.
Yeah, that's also true.
So people will not forget that anymore. Now you know the impact of advertising on Facebook.
Yes, indeed. All right. Now, why should you recruit on Facebook? Well, like I already told you, 20% of the job seekers is actively looking for a job. And they're looking at Google, they're looking on job boards, they're looking at LinkedIn. But 80% of the working population is not actively looking for a new job, but they might be interesting for a new opportunity. And this is where Facebook and Instagram comes up because on average, a person scrolls 160 meters a day, which is really a lot. And it's up to you to pop out with your vacancy advertisement on these platforms.
To make sure nothing is lost in translation, when Stephanie says 160, she means 160, not the 1.6 meters. So just to show you the magnitude of that.
Yes, indeed. Now, there are some basics that you need to get right before you can actually start with your setting up your campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. It is important that you get a good visualization of your recruitment and marketing funnel. Well, what is it? The recruitment funnel is divided in different steps. First of all, you have an application. Someone applies for your vacancy. Then you have the selection process, which is different in every company. It can be different steps. And then eventually you come to a hire. Well, hopefully you come to a hire. Now, before the recruitment funnel, you have also the marketing funnel. And this is also divided in different steps. In the discover phase, you will show not yet your advertisement for your specific vacancy, but you will show something for your target audience. For example, if you're looking for an account manager, then you can publish a blog, a piece of content about sales. The people that click on that blog will be interested in sales. So you can build already some audiences about that specific topic. In the engage phase, you will not show your vacancy advertisement yet, but you will show some advertisements about, are you in for a new opportunity, looking for a new challenge? So people that click on that advertisement will definitely, well, they probably want a new job, a new opportunity in their lives. And then in the interact phase, there you will show your specific advertisement for your vacancy. So why is this so important to see this in a funnel? Well, of course, like I already told you, you put some media budget on these paid recruitment campaigns, and you want to have the best result of it. So it is important to see where it goes wrong. Where do you have to optimize your campaigns? In which step of the funnel do you lose people? So this is really important to keep in mind before you actually start your recruitment campaigns. Now, like I already said, there is some technical setup before you can actually start setting up your campaign in Facebook Ads Manager. First of all, you have to define your target audience. We recommend that you think about your ideal candidate before you actually dive into Facebook Ads Manager, because in Facebook Ads Manager, there are lots of selections, lots of things you have to select from to define your target audience. But think about it before you dive into it. Think about what are the hard skills, what are the requirements, where does a person has to live, etc. Then when you go into Facebook Ads Manager, the first thing that you need to select is a location. You can choose, for example, if you're looking for an account manager job in London, let's say, then you can pick London as a location and then the radius of several kilometers around it. We recommend 20 kilometers is a good radius for recruitment campaigns. The second one are the interests. Facebook has more than 10 million interests to select from. These are not only interests of people, the pages that they like or the things that they do on Facebook. No, it's also the things, the behavior that they do on the internet as a whole. So, for example, if you select an interest, digital marketing, then Facebook will automatically give you some suggestions. Maybe your audience will also like Facebook Ads Manager or Google Analytics or marketing. So this is really handy from Facebook itself, that you can select several interests for your audience. But then the most important thing is data. Facebook gathers a lot of data from your previous campaigns. So when it's the first time that you do a recruitment campaign on Facebook, you will see that the budget will go up. You will see that it's hard to find a really defined target audience. So data is important to keep in mind. We at Simple, well, we've done over 6,000 recruitment campaigns already. So we gathered already a lot of data. What is also really important in Facebook Ads Manager, comparing to LinkedIn Campaign Manager, you can't just select, okay, I'm looking for an account manager with 5 years of experience. No, that's something you can't do in Facebook Ads Manager, but that's something where we come in because we've built a software where you can easily target the audience you want.
Yes, thanks, Steph, for that nice segue into what we're doing. We'll talk a bit about data as we move along. We'll also explain to you how you can start building your own data sets to actually help you in recruiting. We'll talk about Facebook Pixel, etc., as we move along. But what I just want to show you here is maybe what you could either build yourself or you could use our system. Is actually using, if you can just click, and let's start a movie here. What we've built is actually a way of actually easily accessing all the data of the campaigns we have done in the past. So if you're looking for a barista, you can say, look, this is somebody in the hospitality sector, X amount of years of experience, and this is a location. If you would be looking for a barista in New York, you can actually kind of give all those elements of the targeting aspect here without having to go in and do a deep dive in all the data of Facebook. So that's one of the advantages of using our software. Or you don't have to use our software, although it's going to make it a lot easier. You could also start building that data sets yourself, and Stephanie will explain that a bit as we move along, how you can do that.
Yes, definitely. Now, once you've selected your perfect target audience, then it's about building your advertisement, what people will see. And what we recommend is that you take a look at the competition. And it is important to know that you don't have to have a look at the competition of your company itself. No, Facebook is a bidding platform and you're competing against people that also want to reach your target audience. So that's really important to keep in mind. If you're doing advertisement on Facebook, you're competing against the target audience. You're competing against people that also want to reach the same audience as you are. Now, what we do...
Can I maybe elaborate on that, Steph? Because I think this is a really important point that people need to really understand. I'll give an example maybe to clarify. Let's say you're in the financial business of leasing cars, right? So you're looking for an account manager. You'll probably want somebody who has an affinity with cars, right? Your competition for reaching those people is not only going to be other car leasing companies or even maybe other banks or other financial companies. Your competition might even be Volvo, because Volvo will also be looking for salespeople with an affinity for cars. So it's really, really important to understand your competitive space. And Stephanie will explain how you can kind of elaborate on that. But that's really important. This is a completely different ball game versus what you're used to on how to target and to look at your competition. You should really broaden your mind and think about everybody who's trying to target this audience on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But I also urge you to ask any questions, because that's really what we're trying to do here. We want to make this an interactive experience. If you have questions, don't hesitate. I know some of these things might be complex or very new for you. There's a question tab on the right-hand side. You can either put your questions there or just put them in the chat. But we're really more than happy and keen even to answer any questions you might have.
Yes.
Laurence Wilmus asks a great question, and she puts it in capitals to make it really clear that it's very important for her. And she asks, how do we know about the competition? Laurence, that's our next slide. Laurence, sorry, apologies for that. Laurence, that's our next slide. So bear with us for about 30 seconds.
Yes. So what we use to see what the competition is doing, well, we go to Facebook Ads Library, and I will go live right away so you can see it. This is Facebook Ads Library. We will provide you the link in the chat, and there you can type in any company and see which ads they are running at this moment. So maybe I can ask the audience, which company do you want to see the ads from? You can just type in the name in the chat, and then I will look it up for you and see if they are running advertisement at the moment.
Right. First one, Esther, BioPlanet.
BioPlanet. Let's see. There you go.
There's that one.
So you can see how many likes they have, how many followers they have on Instagram, and you can see that they launched some different advertisements in September. You can see that they used videos. You can see their copy. You can see on which platforms they running advertisements. You see that they use Facebook and Instagram, but they're not using Messenger, an audience network. You can see their call to actions. You can see the colors. I mean, you can see everything about the advertisement that they are doing. Maybe one more just to see really quickly.
Let's say Intel from Elliot. He was second, so he was quick on the keyboard.
Intel like this?
Intel, yeah, I think first Intel there, yeah.
All right. So Intel has also launched some advertisements in October. They are doing it on Facebook and Instagram. You can see the different pictures, the different type of copy they've written. You see that they do also a lot of A/B testing with video, so you can see everything. So this is a nice tool to get some inspiration from before you can actually start creating your advertisements.
Okay, and there's a question from Maya on, can we have the link, please? And Maya, your wish is my command. There you go.
All right.
But you have to promise to kind of only use it after the presentation, because you're going to miss a lot of more interesting links and information later on.
Yes. All right. So once you've created your target audience, you got some inspiration about how your ad will look like, then of course you have to make your advertisement. Like I already said, we've done over 6,000 recruitment campaigns already. So we have some learnings, some tips and tricks, which we want to share with you guys. First of all, use authentic pictures. This is really, really important. I mean, you can find some stock images on the internet of people, but it is important to use authentic pictures. You don't have to hire a professional photographer to take pictures. You can just take them with your smartphone of your colleagues, of the office, of the workplace, maybe a fun after work, because people want to immediately know where they are going to work, in which team they come, etc. Like you already see here on some examples of our clients. Then the second one is use uniform communication. What do I mean by that? Well, we recommend you to use the logo of your company, and if you use the logo of your company, then use the same branding colors also for the function type, which you have to put on your video. And what is also important, that you use the same communication, the same branding colors and the same pictures on your vacancy on your website as well, because Facebook will not only look at the performance of your advertisement, but it will also look at how people perform, well, what people do on your website. Because if they click on your advertisement and they go away immediately, then Facebook will know that the advertisement is not good for your target audience. Then the third one is Facebook best practices. On the internet, you can find lots of best practices of Facebook itself about which ad will work best, a video, a picture, a carousel. But what we recommend at Simple is that you have to test everything. If Facebook tells you that a video is working better than a picture, well, we say you should test it. Just throw them in Facebook Ads Manager, and after a couple of days, you will immediately see which one is working best for your advertisement. And I will already tell you the bad news. If you see that a picture is working better than a video for a specific vacancy in your company, then I will read you that that specific picture will not work in 3 months later or for another function. No, you have to test everything again at the beginning of your campaign to see which one is performing better. All right. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat. So Mark also knows what to do.
Okay, thank you, Sid. But well, now that you challenge me, I will go and repeat one point.
Yeah.
Because what you just said is very, very important about the way that Facebook is looking at your advertising. Facebook is very much aware that on one hand, they make money by selling advertising. But on the other hand, they also need to keep their current users on the platform, and they want to keep them happy. And in that way, Facebook is very different than, for instance, if you just do television advertising, or even if you put a job ad on Indeed, right? The quality of the material and the perception of the quality of that material is going to be very important. And as Stephanie said, Facebook will track that diligently. And if they feel that the quality of your advertising or what you're promising on your vacancy page is not good enough, they will either show you to less people or they will just increase the price of your clicks. That's really important to keep in mind, that we're able to actually map and track everything that's happening during the whole campaign, because otherwise your costs could go up quickly. Do we talk about budget in this webinar?
Yes, we
okay,
do.
right, we
Yeah.
do talk about budget. So it will come later in the webinar.
Yes, definitely. Then what is also important to keep in mind that your pictures and videos are the right size to put on Facebook newsfeed or Instagram newsfeed or stories. You can see the dimensions over here. I'm not going to repeat them. You can see them on the slide. But it is important to crop the pictures in the right way for your placement that you choose in Facebook Ads Manager. Okay.
It's back to me again. I didn't know it was that quickly. What we just want to show you here is also part of the software we've built, is to make it actually very easy to make your own ad. And you can immediately see on the right-hand side how the ad will look. So again, let's continue with the barista example. You're looking for barista. You can put the text in there. It will show you how the text will look on the right-hand side. You can select any visual you would like to show. We will also help you with the cropping, because of course Instagram has a different format than Facebook. We will put automatically on there the text, the wanted text, because we know that's also helping. So what you see now is the cropping of the visual. That basically means adapting it to the right format for the touch point where you'll be showing it. But again, that's clearly explained in the software on how to do that. And as you can see here in about, let's say, what was that, 30 seconds? In 30 seconds, our software allows you to build a nice looking ad. You still see the 3 dancing dots on the right-hand side there, but now you can see it, and you can click. You can add other pictures of famous baristas that you want to show to attract people to click through to your vacancy. Good. That's and for those people who have used Facebook Ads Manager, I think they'll probably agree that it's slightly more user-friendly, and I'm probably underselling it a bit, I guess.
Yes, in Facebook Ads Manager, you have much more selections that you have to do, but if you don't have any marketing know-how, those selections are really hard to do.
Yeah, very good point, and that's actually what our software will do for you.
Yes. I think I already told you, but we love testing stuff. What is A/B testing? Well, an A/B test is something you want to test. For example, the visual or the copy or the function type or the vacancy page, etc. And you put them both live, and then after a couple of days, you will see the results coming in, and you will see which one is working best. Now, we're going to launch a poll because this one was an A/B test that we did for Legerstock. Legerstock is one of our clients in Belgium. They were looking for a sales consultant, a really handy sales consultant. As you can see, the function title is the same, the copy is the same, but only the picture is different. So which one do you think that worked best?
All right, so let's have a look here. And again, it's, okay, now we see a clear winner. So the audience thinks that the ad on the left, about 70% of people think that the ad on the left is, and that's my left and your left, just to make sure. Maybe we should put that on the slide. What left is? Yes, the left is a clear winner.
Yes.
Stephanie.
All right. Well, as we looked at the results, the left one has worked better because we had much more applications. We had 22 applications, and the cost per application was also cheaper than the one on the right. So, of course, we put more budget on the one on the left, and the one on the right, I think we changed the copy or the audience to test it again. But this is important to keep in mind, that if you have several pictures, you can discuss with your colleagues which one you think that is working best, but that is not a good option, because the target audience is different than your audience, than you are. So you have to just throw it in as Ads Manager and see the results coming in after a couple of days already.
Okay, Steph, we have one question, and just maybe it's a good moment to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a question from Elliot on, do you believe that this method is suitable for highly technical positions,
Mm-hmm.
i.e. silicon engineering, so engineering functions? What do you think?
Yeah.
Stephanie?
Well, we've done some engineering functions in the past, and we also did advertisement recruitment campaigns on Facebook. I would say that it's more difficult than, for example, an account manager function. But if you already gathered lots of data, and if you already have defined your audience well, then you can do any kind of job function you like on Facebook or Instagram. But I would say test different pictures, test different audiences, so you reach the right people for your vacancy.
Can I maybe add to that, Stephanie? I think
Yeah.
what's important is indeed that is the data, because the targeting is a very important point of your success of your campaign. Be that technical functions or sales functions, doesn't really matter. What's also important is what we always call what's in it for the candidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
What too many companies still do is say, hey, we're a fantastic company, click here. What you should do is build your campaign and think about what the candidate who is currently doing a very similar job at a different company, why should he or she, or is it non-binary? We're very flexible on that, right? Everybody can click, but why should that person click on your advertising? And that's also what we've learned, a very important part, and also what we have actually to teach our clients, is that they need to think in function of the candidate and what the candidate wants.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for instance, in engineering, that could be 3 weeks training per year. Or you could talk about the technology that they can work with, that they could not work with in other companies. And if you get that right, together indeed with the targeting and the data,
Mm-hmm.
if you get that right, then we have some very good examples of where this has worked. One side note, if we're also very open and honest, is that those functions that are currently being used to getting 10 phone calls a day, right? From headhunters, from other companies. Of course, those people, they will be less likely to click on this, or your campaign has to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
And again, coming back to the point, what can you offer to the candidate? And that's why we love Facebook and Facebook as a platform so much, because it really allows you to tell a story, to tell you more about the function, which is something you cannot do on Indeed, or at least those people will not see it because they don't go to Indeed. So that's really important. And I'm going to just stop for a second and go to a question from Laurence,
Mm-hmm.
who's asking, why was the version on the right better than the version on the left? Tell us, Stephanie.
Well, because everything is the same except for the picture, and you can see that on the picture on the right they are holding a smartphone before their mouth mask, and what we thought internally was that the one on the right would work better than the one on the left, because it's the world where we're living in right now. But if you see at the results, you see that the one on the left has more applications and also at a cheaper price. You can see the cost per application on the right is 33 euros, comparing to the one on the left is 21 euros.
And I think the learning there, Laurence, and everybody else who's listening, I hope still, to the answer to the question, is that sometimes your gut feeling or your experience is just not going to be enough. You need to let the data show you what's the right picture and what's the right way to run a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're using A/B testing so much, because you can argue at length, but you need numbers, you need data, you just have to show it. And actually, why people prefer the picture on the left, not on the right, We will never know,
No.
right? We won't know, but we do have the data knowing that this one works better.
Yeah, and we also know that it's because of the picture, because all the rest is
Exactly.
exactly the same. The copy is the same, function type, call to action, etc. All right. Any more questions?
There's one question, Nicolas, about will you send this training recording to participants?
We will send, you will definitely receive the recordings of this webinar.
Okay. I'm hoping that's this because, Nicolas, you think this is such a great training, right? And not because you want to give us as an example of the worst webinar in the world.
I hope not.
I hope not.
Okay. Now we've spoken about pictures, but of course you can also put videos live on Facebook advertisements as Facebook advertisements. You can see some videos over here that we've made for some of our customers. You can see that they take up the whole pictures, that the first 3 seconds are the most important one. Well, actually the first seconds, because they have to stop scrolling and they have to stop scrolling and see what the rest of the video will look like. All right. Now, how do you set up a campaign in Facebook Ads Manager? Well, the campaigns in Facebook Ads Manager have some components, and the first one is, of course, the overall level, and this is the campaign level. You have to choose the right objective for your campaign over there. For example, if you want to have many clicks to your website, then you're going to use traffic as an objective. But if you want to have as much as conversions, as much applications for your vacancy, which of course we want, then you're going to choose conversion as an objective for your campaign. Now, underneath the campaign level, you have the ad set level. And the things that you need to select over there is, first of all, the audience, then second of all, the channels. And I already told you that Facebook consists of also Instagram and Messenger and Audience Network, but it goes a bit further. You also have Messenger Inbox, you have Instagram Stories, Facebook Feed. So these are all the channels which you can choose from, and Facebook will always select to put your advertisement live on all these channels. But we at Simple, we recommend to select just only one. So you will see which channel is also working best for your target audience. Because, for example, for an account manager function, I'm inventing right now, Facebook Feed can work really, really good. But for a technical operator function, maybe Instagram Stories will work very good. And it is important to know which channel is working best for your target audience. Then the third thing that you need to decide on the ad set level is the budget that you want to spend for your campaign. All right. And then underneath the ad set level, you have the advertisement itself. There you have to write your copy. There you have to upload your pictures or your video. So this is actually the level what people will see, what your target audience will see as an advertisement. It is important to know that it's not a one-on-one relationship. If you have one campaign for a specific function, then you will have several ad sets underneath it and several advertisements, because of course you want to test which audience works best, which channel, and which copy or which visual works best. All right. I hope everything is clear.
There's a question from Frederick on any specific tips for jobs in construction.
Well, specific tips, not really. But what we see is that you have to test everything. I mean, I can't say that a picture is working better for a job in construction than a video, because it all depends on the location that you're targeting, the requirements that your audience has to have, for which company it is, for which brand. So I can't give you more specific tips about that. No, I can't. Sorry.
No, I was just going to kind of exactly say the same. I think it's think about what you can offer to people doing a similar job elsewhere, and why your company is different and why that job is different. We have quite a bit of customers in construction, actually, also for the technical jobs that they do. And it's all about testing until you find the right mix for that specific vacancy.
Yeah.
I know it's a pretty vague answer, Frederick. Apologies for that, but we could show some examples specifically on what we have done, but I think it would probably be maybe not interesting for the whole audience. But it's about testing.
Yeah. And like I also said, like if something is working well and you do it you do it 4 months later, then maybe something else is working better because your audience is always changing. Facebook platform is also always changing. So we would recommend to test everything in the beginning of your campaign.
Yes, and also something, I don't think we mentioned it in the beginning. I'll just put on my camera because otherwise you just have this voice talking. Is that the quicker you start collecting data, and we'll come back to that in a second, even if you're only planning to do a campaign next year in January, start collecting data now. And please, after this webinar, we'll give you some tips and tricks on how to do that, because the more data you collect, the more data you gather, the easier your campaign will be in the future.
Yes. Now, what defines the cost of your advertisement? Well, there are 3 important things to keep in mind. First of all, the bidding. Facebook is a bidding platform, and you have to think about how much do you want to pay to reach your target audience, because you're competing against the company that is also want to reach your target audience. You can choose for a daily budget or a lifetime budget. We recommend to choose a daily budget because then you can test several things, but of course you're completely free to choose for that. What is also important is that you can set up a cost cap. For example, if you say that an application can cost maximum 15 euros or 20 euros, then you can set it also up in Facebook Ads Manager. This is really good to not spend the whole budget on one application. The second one that is also defining your cost is the estimated action rate. What is this? Well, Facebook will look at the performance of your campaigns that you did in the past. Well, not only the campaigns, but also how good your Facebook profile, your Facebook business profile is ranking. So for example, if someone asks you a question via Messenger, then how long will it take till he or she gets a response? These are all estimated action rates that Facebook gives you, but he or she, I don't know how to refer to Facebook, or it will not tell you how much your score is. So it will not tell you, okay, you have 98 on 100. No, you will not know it. It's a bit of a black box, but these are all things to keep in mind, that you already gathered some data, that you already did some campaigns in the past, some good performing campaigns in the past, etc. And then the third one, and I think Mark already mentioned it before, the user value that you bring to the people on Facebook is really, really important, because, Facebook wants to keep the user experience on their platforms as good as possible, but they also provide advertisements to do on Facebook, but it is a combination of both. These are all 3 things that define your cost. Now, how much money do you have to provide to run a good recruitment campaign? Well, we at Simple, we've made a financial Facebook formula, and Mark will send you the link in the chat, but there are 3 things that you need to answer before the formula will say how much budget you have to provide. First of all, how many applicants do you think you need to come to a hire for that specific function? Second one is, what is the conversion on the vacancy page? Here you can see an example. So for example, if you have 1,250 visitors on your vacancy and you have 50 applications, then you will have a conversion rate of 4%. 4% is a really good number, but it is important to keep in mind that you also have a look at the quality of all those applications, because if most of them are off target and they're not good for your specific vacancy, then you're nothing with a good conversion rate. Then the third thing that you need to answer is, what is the conversion of your Facebook ad that you think you will have? For example, if you use stock images, then you will know that the conversion rate of your Facebook ad will be less than if you use authentic pictures. But if you have a strong brand, nice pictures, for example, a good brand, a good salary, etc., then your conversion of your Facebook ad will be higher than if the function is not clear or the pictures are not clear, etc. So these are 3 things that you need to answer, and then the financial Facebook formula will give you a budget that you need to provide for your campaigns. All right. Then the last thing that is really important to keep in mind, because you provide a media budget to run recruitment campaigns on Facebook, data is really, really important because, of course, you want a good performing campaign. And the first thing that you need to do is you have to install the Facebook Pixel. I just want to know in the audience who already has installed the Facebook Pixel on their websites. Let's vote.
Sorry, I just I published the wrong poll, Steph.
Okay.
It was already about the one for the end of the webinar, but now we have the poll on the Facebook Pixel. Let's see what people think about. Okay, we have almost half of the people are saying, what the hell is a Facebook Pixel?
Okay.
And only 4% have actually installed it. Sorry, only 17%. Apologies for that. So half has never heard of it, and about 20% have actually installed it on their website.
Okay, so let me explain to you what the Facebook Pixel is. Well, the Facebook Pixel is a piece of code that you have to install on your website so that Facebook will collect all the data points that your visitor, that your person that applies takes on your website. This is completely GDPR approved, but you have to mention it in your privacy policy that you have installed the Facebook Pixel on your website. I'm not going to go into detail about how do you have to install it, but on our website or in our software itself, you can find our white paper that we've written about data-driven recruitment, and there you have all the basic steps to install the Facebook Pixel. Now, why should you do it? Well, first of all, retargeting. If people come to your website and they think, oh, I don't have time to apply right now, then you have to be top of mind with those people. So what you can do is you can retarget those specific people that already come to your vacancy to remind them with some other advertisement for that specific vacancy. Then the second one is track conversions. Of course, Facebook wants to know when a conversion has taken place. What we do at Simple is if someone comes on our vacancies, then they have to fill in an interactive chatbot. These are some questions about to screen, to do a first screening of the person. And after they filled in the questionnaire, they come to a thank you page. And on that thank you page on our website, the Facebook Pixel is fired. So Facebook knows, okay, there is a conversion that has taken place. It is important to install this correctly. It is some technical setup to keep in mind before you can actually start tracking conversions. And then the third one, and this is a really powerful one of Facebook, you can build audiences thanks to the Facebook Pixel. For example, if you have an account manager function for, let's say, Coca-Cola, then you can track, well, Facebook will know the visitors that came to your website, and you can make lookalike audiences of those visitors. What is a lookalike audience? Well, it's a similar audience, but with the same demographics, with the same behaviors, etc. But it's just to broaden your audience. And you can use that data, for example, for an account manager for, let's say, Nestea or Iced Tea or whatever. So this is really powerful from Facebook. You don't have to have much money to do recruitment campaigns on Facebook, but you do have to have some data to build the right target audience for your vacancy.
Okay, wait, Stephanie, can I just interrupt you for a second because there's two questions?
Yes.
I'll take one. There's a question from Sanne. Oh no, we'll do the question from Nicholas first because you just talked about lookalike audiences. Mm-hmm. The question from Nicholas is basically, is it better to use lookalike audiences on Google or better on Facebook, as Facebook tends to be more expensive?
I'm not quite sure if Facebook is really more expensive than Google, because we've done some testing also with the Google Ads platform, and we actually saw that recruitment advertisements on Google are more expensive than the recruitment advertising that we do on Facebook. So
yeah. I think that's a part of the answer, or that's part of the answer I think I would completely subscribe to. I think the second one is also that with Google, you're going to be targeting active candidates.
Yeah.
It's those people who are looking on Google for vacancies, sales in London, for instance. So again, it's a similar audience than the one you could be reaching on Indeed or other job boards. So that's the second reason why we kind of think using Facebook is a better option. So I hope that answers that question. And there may be another question from Sanne, and apologies for Sanne for missing out on that question earlier. It was at the moment when you were talking about A/B testing, Steph. If you have to test everything, how do you manage an overkill of advertisements?
Yeah. So what we recommend is that you make a testing protocol or testing experiment before you actually start your campaign. So for example, if you want to test different pictures, if you want to test different copy, if you want to test different vacancies, then don't test it all at once. Start with, for example, the advertisements, then go into detail to the audiences. Then after a week, go into detail to the copy. And then after a week, go into detail at your vacancy level.
Yeah, I think, Sanne, maybe just to add on that also is that there's a lot of people on Facebook, right? So the quality of the advertising, you can test all across a lot of people, and they will not necessarily have all seen all the advertisements at once. On top of that, you can actually also measure that.
Yeah.
It's called frequency. So Facebook will show you the frequency of an ad, meaning if the frequency of your advertising is 1.5, that means that a certain percentage of people have already seen your advertising twice, but not everybody. And again, that's all explained in our data-driven recruitment white paper,
Yes.
in our webinar, if you want to dig deeper into the frequency bit. So you can also measure that and therefore also control that through keeping an eye on your frequency of your advertising.
Yes. Now, besides the Facebook Pixel, there are some other useful tools which we recommend to install for your website.
And free tools even.
Free tools, yes, indeed. They're all from Google. And the first one is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is also a piece of code that you have to install on your website. And you will see all metrics stake website. So for example, which pages do they visit, how long do they stay, on which buttons do they click, etc. Now, you have to install the Facebook Pixel and Google Analytics through Google Tag Manager. Well, we use Google Tag Manager. You can also do it in the website itself, but then you have to have some developer skills, which I don't really have. So I use Google Tag Manager to install all these pixels, all the events. It's really dummy proof where you can install everything.
Even I could do it.
Not sure about that.
There you go.
And then the third one, which we love, we love data, is Google Data Studio. Google Data Studio is also a free platform of Google where you can build your own dashboards with all the data points that you collect from Google Analytics and the Facebook Pixel. So you can make some nice graphics. You can build actually the recruitment funnel or your advertisement funnel all in Google Analytics. Google Data Studio. Now, I know it's a lot. I've explained a lot to you, and there is some technical setup. But what we did at Simple, we've made a software where you don't need the Facebook Pixel, where you don't need Google Analytics, etc. But where everyone without marketing know-how can easily set up their recruitment campaign on Facebook and Instagram. And Mark will go live to show you really quickly our software.
Yes. So first of all, and we'll share that link in a second. But the only thing you need to do is just register with your basic details. Choose a password, And then, we'll also give a link to a 2-week free trial.
Yeah.
So you can actually test it out. I think there's two interesting elements. One, that we have a very clear process with a checklist on the things you need to do to actually start your campaign. So it's about targeting. We showed already the targeting before. It's about getting your vacancy page right. It's about building your advertising. You've already seen that tool also, which allows you to kind of maybe just show it again, to really easily show and start developing your advertising. It's about setting up your chatbot. So as Stephanie mentioned, we have an interactive chatbot that you can actually ask any specific questions, basic questions that are done. But very, very important, once the campaign goes live, it will also allow you, and I'll just go to a live campaign here that we're currently running. It will show you the spend that you have done, how many visits, how many applications, and very importantly, it will also continually show you an overview of the advertising. And you can see here, active, inactive. That's our algorithm, which has automatically put some ads on inactive, has kept some ads. So you can see, for instance, the Instagram ad is still active. This Facebook ad is still active, because our system will automatically look at the best performing ads. A/B testing data, looking at the best performing applications. That's actually done completely within our tool. And as I mentioned, I think that's where we started building it, with keeping in mind that the people who have to use it have no experience in marketing or in advertising, but you want to reach the candidates. And that's here, when you click on candidates, you'll see that you have a beautiful, it's a Kanban board where you can look at the candidates. You can actually look at the detail of the candidates, where they're coming from. You can actually also interact with candidates. You can email them, you can call them, all from within the software. You can make notes. You can look at the resume if they built a resume. So basically, everything to not only build your recruitment campaign, but also to manage the candidates, and the whole process is in this software. Good. I'll stop raving about how great our software is, Stephanie, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Yes, I already shared the link for the free trial in the chat. So go check it out. You get also access to our Simple Academy via that link, where you can find all our resources, also the data-driven recruitment white paper. So go check it out. I also want to say that you're going to receive an email with the recordings, with also the link to our software. And we have some good news, because if you refer some HR colleagues or HR friends that you have for our webinar next week, then you can win a one-to-one meeting with one of our recruitment campaign experts to set up your recruitment campaign live in the meeting. And if you start your campaign during the weekend, or tomorrow or Monday, well, if you do it before Tuesday, then we will give you 50 euros extra on your media budget for free.
It's Christmas.
Yes, it is.
I didn't even know we were giving money away. There you go.
All right. So we've come to the end of this webinar. If you still have some questions, please, you can also ask them in the chat or in the questions tab.
We have some question about Nicholas, but that's I think we answered that one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the chat. 1 second here. No, just a thank you from Lawrence. Mm-hmm. But let's give it 10 more seconds to see if anybody is. There you go. And what you can see here is the other founder of Simple on this slide. That's not me. I'm the better looking one from both founders. I'm sure you will not like me telling that.
But if
Okay.
you still have some questions in a
Ah.
couple of days with setting up your recruitment campaign or with setting up the Facebook pixel or whatever, you can always send us a private message on LinkedIn. If you want to have the LinkedIn of Mark, you can you can ask it to me and I will send you the LinkedIn of Mark.
Or you could just go to LinkedIn and I'll
Yeah.
put my name in it. So to make sure people know what my name is, there you go.
Yes.
There you go.
But please, if you have any questions, you can always send us an email or contact us on LinkedIn.
Cool.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for also.
Sorry, the poll. We're just gonna
yeah.
have one poll to ask you whether you actually learned something. So I'll publish that now, and there's going to be a second poll where you can actually tell us what you would like to talk about or us to talk about in the next webinar.
Yes.
So you can maybe just kind of fill in those two polls. That would help us tremendously in making sure we can build content that's interesting for you and for other people.
Yes. And also, if you keep an eye on our social media business profile, which is called Simple, then you will always see which content pieces we've written, which webinars we're going to host in a couple of weeks. So give us a follow to know what we're doing in a couple of weeks. All right. Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope to see or hear you in the future.
Right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.